Today, we will talk with you about one of the least discussed, yet most dangerous powers in history. White-robed, red-crossed knights, outwardly holy warriors, but in reality the owners of a weapon more powerful than the sword: money, debt, and control over trust. Today, we will travel to a time when banks did not yet exist, when the credit system operated on horseback. A story in which kings were in debt, empires lost their power, and ultimately a financial empire was silently destroyed. This is not a story of battlefields, but of trust, debt, and invisible power. And perhaps, it is one of the most important keys to understanding how the world we live in today was built. Imagine this. On the dusty roads of the Middle Ages, knights dressed in white robes with a bright red cross ride on horseback. For many, they are merely holy warriors sworn to protect pilgrims, heroes of the Crusades, or secret guardians of mysterious relics. Yet this popular image overshadows one of the greatest, and perhaps most dangerous, truths in history: a magnificent financial empire. The members of the Knights Templar were not only sword-wielding soldiers or praying monks. They were, in fact, the hidden architects of a financial revolution. Long before modern bank buildings, credit cards, and international money transfers were invented, these knights built a complex system that allowed wealth to move safely between kingdoms and continents. Just as they protected roads with their swords, they enabled money to cross borders with their intellect. Thus, the Knights Templar entered history not only as conquerors of battlefields, but also, as historians acknowledge, as the first international bankers of the Middle Ages. This is the story of how a religious military order quietly built one of the most sophisticated financial networks the medieval world had ever seen, and how that very power ultimately led to its destruction. To understand just how revolutionary the role of the Knights Templar was, one must first consider the challenges of the era in which they operated. In medieval Europe, banks in the modern sense did not exist, and there was no safe place to store money. Currency consisted of heavy coins, making transportation extremely difficult, while roads were constantly threatened by bandits, corrupt officials, and rival feudal lords. For example, a pilgrim traveling from France to Jerusalem had to carry all his gold and valuables with him, which often resulted in deadly consequences when passing through hostile territories. In addition to this chaos, the Crusades placed an enormous economic burden on society. Thousands of knights, nobles, and merchants had to transport vast amounts of resources over long distances, while kingdoms were forced to finance overseas wars. The Church urgently needed a reliable mechanism to manage donations sent from various parts of Europe to the Holy Land. It was within this environment of intense economic and social pressure that the Knights Templar emerged to offer solutions to these problems. Founded in 1119 to protect pilgrims, the Templar Knights gained extensive independence and privileges because they answered only to the Pope. Exempt from local taxes, these warrior monks created a vast chain of properties stretching from Europe to the Holy Land, transforming a military network into a continent-wide infrastructure. In the Middle Ages, the Templars ingeniously solved the greatest problem faced by pilgrims and nobles during travel: the safe transportation of wealth. They introduced a system of encoded letters of credit that eliminated the risk of physically carrying money along dangerous roads. Under this system, a person could deposit funds in Paris and, using the document received, withdraw the same amount in Jerusalem. This innovative approach was essentially a medieval prototype of modern bank transfers and completely eliminated the risk of gold being stolen or lost. The success of this financial system was built on the immense trust people placed in the Templars. Their disciplined reputation, religious vows, and protection under the papacy made them more trustworthy than even kings. Over time, this service expanded beyond pilgrims. Nobles entrusted them with their fortunes, merchants safeguarded their capital, and kings began borrowing from them. Thus, The Templar Order gradually became Europe's most influential financial institution and its bankers. The Templar Order became a central financial pillar for European monarchs during the Middle Ages. They managed royal treasuries, collected taxes, and financed wars, making states increasingly dependent on them. By keeping meticulous records in Latin and tracking cross-border debts, the Templars did more than protect money. They stabilized economies and became a decisive force in shaping history. What troubled rulers most about the Knights Templar was not their military power, but their ability to act with complete independence. Governing vast lands across Europe, the order paid no taxes to local kings and recognized only the supreme authority of the Pope. Though not monarchs themselves, their ownership of land, armies, and immense financial reserves allowed them to rival royal power. This situation became unbearable for King Philip IV of France, who was facing a severe economic crisis. Wars with England and Flanders had completely drained the royal treasury, and the devaluation of currency had caused widespread public unrest. Philip had already expelled the Jews from France and confiscated their property, and had even clashed with the Church. Turning against his most dangerous creditors, the Knights Templar, to whom he owed vast sums, offered Philip both a way to erase his debts and to refill the treasury. In 1307, King Philip ordered the arrest of the Templar Order on charges of heresy in order to eliminate his debts. Through political manipulation and torture, the world's first international banking system was dismantled, its properties confiscated, and its leaders executed. Although the physical presence of the Knights Templar was destroyed, the fundamental ideas they introduced, letters of credit, cross-border transfers, and financial networks based on institutional trust, did not disappear. These innovations were later adopted by Italian banking families and merchant guilds, playing a crucial role in the formation of modern financial institutions. The Templars demonstrated that economic power can rival political power, and that financial flows can move faster than armies. Yet this historical process also carries a serious warning. Financial control without political protection is always at risk. The story of the Knights Templar proves that when financial innovations reshape the world, those who benefit from old systems will fiercely resist change. Their legacy teaches us the value of trust as a form of currency, and that debt can sometimes be more dangerous than war. Thus, the foundations of the modern global financial system were laid in the Middle Ages by white-robed, Red Cross-bearing warrior monks. Acting as the first bankers before banks even existed, these individuals transformed the world and laid the groundwork for today's economic order. Thank you for watching us. If this topic was interesting to you, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and activate notifications. In the upcoming videos on this channel, we will take a deeper look at history, economics, and the major processes shaping the world. Your opinions are important to us as well. Share your thoughts in the comments. Remember, those who understand the past build the future more correctly.